Is Furina really the Hydro Archon? I think this is a question that most characters who have met Furina will undoubtedly ask themselves. While she does seem to officially hold the title, she has next to none of the gravitas nor the temperament that one would expect from being the god of a nation. If you've seen how she's behaved in court or in public, I have no doubt this question would have crossed your mind as well at some point. Regardless of what we may think, the nation of Fontaine still considers Furina to be their Archon. But how true is this? And if she really was an Archon, could there be an explanation for her rather odd behavior? This is what we'll be exploring in this video. Before we dive into the depths of the Hydro Archon, if you want to see more Genshin Impact content, do consider subscribing to the channel. Like most lore videos, I will be talking about topics here that are rife with spoilers, especially related to the events in the 4.1 Archon quest. So if you haven't played it, consider this your spoiler warning. While most Fontaine citizens accept Furina or Focalors as their Archon, there is a lot of suspicion within the in-game characters about whether Furina is truly the Hydro Archon. The earliest indication of this was the Oceanids themselves, who we learn are creations of the first Hydro Archon. For one reason or another, the Oceanids do not acknowledge Furina as the rightful Archon, though why they oppose her is not yet revealed. In the recent Archon quest, the Harbinger known as the Knave, or Arlecchino, explicitly pointed out that even she doesn't feel that Furina is the true Archon, and instead suspects Neuvillette to be the real one. While others voiced out this opinion in one way or another, Arlecchino actually puts this theory of hers to the test. After their first meeting, she actually followed Focalors in secret and planned to attack her. When she did, she realized a few rather interesting things. First off, Focalors was largely left unguarded and seemed to be unaware of the imminent threat to her life up to the very last second. When attacked, she could hardly defend herself and instead resorted to begging for her life. If she truly was an all-powerful god, it's unlikely one random attacker would actually face her even if it was a Harbinger. Aside from that, Arlecchino also learned that the Gnosis, the symbol of authority for an Archon, wasn't even in Furina's possession at the time. Now this in itself isn't a problem. Not all the Archons bring around their Gnosis all the time. Zhongli, for example, leaves his Gnosis in the Golden House to generate Mora, while for the most part, Raiden A had given her Gnosis to Yaemiko for safekeeping. Aside from this encounter, the character we see Furina portray so far has been one of general incompetence. She doesn't seem to know what's going on in her own nation, has seemingly no plan for the impending prophecy, and just seems to be mostly focused on enjoying herself in the courthouse. Even during the first meeting with Arlecchino, which was mostly a political meeting between nations, she wasn't really confident in dealing with the Harbinger and needed Neuvillette to be present, resulting in Arlecchino thinking of Furina as mostly a celebrity or figurehead, rather than an Archon or leader. During the second meeting when Neuvillette had to leave for an urgent matter, he requested the Traveler accompany Furina, which makes me think that even Neuvillette wasn't confident in leaving her alone. So suffice to say, everything points to the idea that Furina seems like a fish out of water and is incapable of shouldering the responsibility of being Fontaine's Archon. She seems to be reliant on others, and even when we are shown her innermost thoughts, it displays the demeanor of someone with little to no confidence and almost childlike in her tendency to throw tantrums and have the last say. Despite all this though, there are moments where we see Furina display some confidence and level-headedness. One such moment was during a court scene when presenting her findings against the Traveler, but the more important one was during her second meeting with the Knave. During that meeting, Arlecchino had called out Furina on how she was doing next to nothing to deal with the impending prophecy. Despite sign after sign coming true, Focalors didn't seem to place too much thought into it at all, at least on the surface. However, after being sufficiently pressured, Furina eventually relented and expressed that she was indeed working on something to address the prophecy, much to the surprise of the Traveler and the Knave. In fact, she implies that she has been working on it for a significant amount of time. When asked for the details, however, such as what exactly she is generating all this indemnitium for, she reverted back to her less confident personality and stumbles at providing some proof or her plan of action. It was a significant enough of a personality shift that the Traveler pointed it out, albeit just to himself, which makes me think there is something significant there. Now, if she indeed has a plan, what it exactly is would be anyone's guess. Not enough has been revealed to make a reasonable assumption here, and maybe she's just lying to cover herself and retain her reputation. But I'm going to propose a theory regardless on what her plan may be and how it might explain her behavior. What I think might be happening is that Phosalos is the actual Archon, but has somehow split herself into two or more versions of herself. One version is slowly committed to solving the prophecy, and the other is the one we see day to day. It's possible that the one currently working on the prophecy is the version that retains most of her powers, is in possession of the Hydroneosis, and currently slaves away at finding a solution. She could perhaps even be located at the Oratrice core room, constantly working on this, and why we don't really see her. If this were the case, it would make sense that the one we see has little to no ability to defend herself, isn't holding on to the Gnosis, and was confident enough to reveal she has a plan, but not what it entails. Also, recall that while the second Furina seems to largely be enjoying herself, what she might in fact be doing is ensuring people enter the courthouse and drumming up enough drama to achieve this. Perhaps their plan requires a large amount of indemnitium, and both versions of Furina are working hand in hand to achieve this, with the first Furina working in the core, while the second, weaker Furina ensures people enter the courthouse. Even Arlecchino points this out and wonders what exactly Furina is doing with all this indemnitium, which leads me to believe that there is some way to save Fontaine that revolves around this energy source, but the exact solution has yet to be revealed to us. The dumbest thing I could think of would be to use the indemnitium to make Fontaine a floating flying city. Water rising? Not a problem, the city is in the sky. Flying cities impossible, you say? Well, Celestia and Ningguang would both like to have a word with you. On top of that, it turns out that the Fontaine Research Institute's senior technician, Edwin Eastinghouse, was planning precisely this as a way to deal with the prophecy. He almost succeeded too, and why you see those floating blocks of water where the Research Institute labs once were. The problem in his solution was that the arc energy, the Pneuma and Usia energy, was insufficient to power his invention, and I suppose indemnitium could be a possible replacement, couldn't it? As it turns out, the answer has been staring us right in the face. Jokes aside though, truth is, all we know is that Furina does seem to have a plan, and it involves stockpiling large amounts of indemnitium and nothing beyond that. Now of course, there is the possibility that she indeed isn't the true Hydro Archon, and perhaps much like Nahida's case, the truth is hidden away behind Fontaine's many secrets. Maybe Furina has imprisoned the real Archon and is using her as a power source for the Oratrice so that she can continue watching her true crime stories. The possibilities of what is happening here are endless and would just lead us down a rabbit hole of guesses should we pursue it, so I'll end my lore rant here. For the record, I do think Furina is the Hydro Archon, though there might be something happening in the background that we might not be privy to at the moment. Let me know in the comments whether you think Furina is the true Archon or not, and if you enjoyed watching the video, do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. As usual, have a nice day.